We went to sunny Nova Scotia to find out what there was to do with kids. And with a little over 1 million or around 1 million inhabitants, you're certainly not going to get crowded out. Bay of Fundy is known as the place with the highest tides in the world and borders both New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. We took a bit of a cruise around both areas but camped in Nova Scotia. There's lots to do with families, and kids will find it fascinating to see the huge tide, cliffs, and to simply walk out on the bays at low tide. There's also fossil cliffs in the area which kids will love. They say that each year there are more than 15 species of whales that come to cruise the waters that are nutrient rich. We camped in the provincial park and the experience was interesting. Each evening there was a fog that came in. There are other activities that people like to do in the Bay of Fundy area. Whale watching is popular from Digby Neck. There are tidal bore rafting tours. Sea kayaking is also popular. At the Fundy Geological Museum, you can walk where the dinosaurs roamed years ago. Visit the Sable Island ponies. At Oaklawn, there's a farm zoo. Or simply stop somewhere and enjoy the magnificent seafood of the region. Lobsters and delicious clam chowders. The scenery really is marvellous, and it's a wonderful place to visit. See more ideas like this and great places to visit in Nova Scotia and the Maritimes on My Family Vacation Ideas. While you're in Nova Scotia, pop up to Cape Breton Island. The Cabot Trail is one of the most scenic drives I've ever done and one of the most scenic drives in Canada, and is a wonderful natural asset. Generally visitors take a few days to travel around, well, the top part anyway. We didn't know at the time, but if you drive in the clockwise direction, you're on the inside lane. We drove on the outside lane, which meant we had less traffic and better views, but perhaps a little unnervy if you don't like heights. The road takes you over spectacular mountain drops, through lush forests and high vistas where you can see whales off in the distance at different times of the year. There's wonderful cute little fishing villages and cultural towns where you can drop in for some Celtic music. We were really heavily rewarded by stopping at the bog, which was kind of a blip on the map, but by taking the time to do the 20-minute walk we were able to spot a moose and the baby. We figured since it was across the other side of the bog we were safe. Not true apparently. You'll probably find yourself dropping off somewhere to get a lobster roll as well. The drive is a great snapshot of Canadian life. On one side is the French and on the other side the Scottish. Towns like Ingonish on the Scottish side provide plenty of Celtic charm, and on the Arcadian side, Cheddar is almost entirely French speaking. Drop into My Family Vacation Ideas to see the full review of this trip and other great Nova Scotia locations, and subscribe below. Peggys Cove sure was an amazing place, but it was time to move on. We'd heard about Lunenburg. This is a World Heritage listed area, and UNESCO tells us that it's the best example of a planned British colonial settlement in North America, and its history goes back hundreds of years to the 1750s. On the way back we visit a few sites in Halifax and then follow the coastline along. There's lots of places to visit on the way, and it's worthwhile checking out your guidebook or following My Family Vacation Ideas. Somehow over the years the local inhabitants have managed to preserve the architecture, making it an excellent example of 18th century British colonial urban planning. It's located on the Fairhaven Peninsula on the western side of Mahone Bay, making it about 100 kilometres south of Halifax, but it's an easy drive to do back and forth in a day if you're not planning to stay there, or simply stay at one of the beautiful bays along the way. The place was for a long time an agricultural settlement, and you'll notice when you go to Nova Scotia that there's not much good agricultural land. This was one of the few. but I guess fishing started to grow over the years. Today, tourism is easily the biggest money earner for the town, and the schooner replica Blue Nose 2 is operated. We managed to find a campground at Peggys Cove, a quaint little lighthouse about 26 miles or 43 kilometres from Halifax. This is a working fishing community, but there was also a few other interesting things to do, like visiting the museum and the art gallery. But of far more interest to the economy these days is tourism. Really, this is what people who come to the Maritimes come to see. Beautiful rustic settings, lobster traps lying around. There are even limitations on who can live in the area to preserve all this. Peggys Cove and Scenics in Margaret's Bay offer a good range of things to do. There's a heritage trail which takes you around some wonderful settings. They call it a museum without walls, and you visit different villages and heritage and historic homes. Beautiful churches. There's something different around every corner. Glaciers shaped this area thousands of years ago, and it's simply a wonderful place to chill out and enjoy the peacefulness. Kids will love simply hanging out on the rocks with you. For more information about different things to do in Nova Scotia and the Maritimes, visit My Family Vacation Ideas. And subscribe below. Fort Lewisburg is simply one of the greatest kid-friendly things you can do in Nova Scotia. There's recreations of the history of Fort Lewisburg, which is really rich. Then make sure you plan to spend at least 3/4 of a day, if not a full day, and take some of the guided tours and demonstrations that are around. You can explore the town on your own as well. Depending on your budget, you can eat like one of the peasants or like one of the guards and one of the soldiers. Back in the day they used to carry their own knives, but they'll actually supply them here. Because we opted for the peasant lunch, we had to put up with brown whole grain bread, which was fine with us. They're actually well on their way to recreating what was here a few hundred years ago in 1713. As the French strive to establish a settlement and keep out the British. Then now you get to experience it as it was, not long after settlement. There's dancing, cooking, military drills, and a whole lot more. You can buy gifts from the 17th and 18th century as well. And as you visit the restaurants, shops, and cafes, cabarets, you learn what it was like at the time. You can sit down and talk to some of the characters, and they'll tell you, and you ask them questions. There weren't actually many people there on a bit of a windy, cool summer's day, and we got to like hang out with a lot of the characters who are probably paid actors from the local Cape Breton community or volunteers. I'm not sure. The cost was about $44 for a family, $18 for an adult, and there is a reduced level of service between 15th of October and sort of May. Then the peak season is from the 1st of September, I should say the 1st of July to the 1st of September. Then enjoy and have a great time in Nova Scotia. Visit My Family Vacation Ideas for more great ideas on Nova Scotia and other areas of Canada and the world. Subscribe below.